Hi there, warm welcome. You're watching Decoding Now and I'm Meghna Deka. The question is, should universities shape minds or should they be shaping political narratives? Well, this is the latest flashpoint in the students versus Sarkar face-off that we are seeing in the heart of India. Remember, students have historically been the conscience keepers of India's democracy. Time and again, campus movements have changed the course of the nation. The ones who rise about politics, they are the ones who show spine. They stand up against authorities. Students were the ones who challenged emergency under Indira Gandhi. The likes of J.P. Narayan, Arun Jaitley, Lalu Prasad, Nitish Kumar, all of them began their political careers from the grassroots protests of youth movements, all the way from the campus to the political corridors. But today, these very universities stand accused of betraying free thought, critical thinking, and democratic protest. Universities, which were once the hubs of fighting dogma, are today being accused of saffronized. Has dissent now gone off the syllabus of our universities? Well, there are thousands of students across the nation who are now demanding the resignation of Dharmendra Pradhan, the Union Education Minister. Ironically, he himself grew from an ABVP student movement in Odisha in 1997. He is the one who led 1,500 students against a paper leak in Bhubaneswar. He was lathi charged at the time when he was a young student, but he never wavered in his resolve. He had several broken bones, but his resolve did not break. But today, this man, this very student leader from 1997, today, flashback is what we are showing for you. You fast forward. Today, this is the man who's accused of being anti-students. He stands on the other side of the barrier. There are students who are rising against him, demanding his resignation. And interestingly, it is universities who are defending him. Well, that's right. You have the Delhi University and JNU. They have advised their students to stay away from Jantar Mantar protests, saying don't go there. They are citing safety and legal issues. The opposition calls it an assault on dissent, that this is a diktat to not go to the dharna of students. So where do universities draw the line? Tonight we will decode the battle over protest, politics, and the purpose of what really universities should and must stand for. Let's tell you about the anti-dharna diktats coming in from DU and JNU. Several of the campuses have also backed the Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan amidst call coming in for his resignation over the NEET issue. You had the principal of Shahid Bhagat Singh College, which is part of Delhi University, in a post coming in, posted this AI-generated poster on X, praising what he described as Dharmendra Pradhan's commitment to implementing the NEP, the National Education Policy. This was put out by Shahid Bhagat Singh College's principal. We stand with Dharmendra Pradhan. There's a similar one which came in from Shamlal College as well, which shared a similar AI-generated poster on social media congratulating Dharmendra Pradhan for what it called his visionary leadership and the successful implementation of the NEP. Then, of course, there was Rajdhani College as well. This is the college. This college also shared a similar post on X. However, later, after it faced a lot of backlash for taking an institutional stand on politics, Rajdhani College then removed this post. They even issued an apology. They clarified that it stands with the students and not necessarily the government. In fact, let's tell you about the student bodies. Despite the fact that you had universities coming out saying that they stand with Dharmendra Pradhan, there are student bodies, many of them who came out and say, we stand with the students. They've come out in support of the protesters at Jantar Mantar. For example, you have the principal of Bhagini Nivedita College who says, ask the tough questions. Civil Services Forum of St. Stephen's College in the national capital, Delhi University, says, we condemn the police action against students. You have the Quiz Society of Venkateshwara College saying, we back the cause of Sansad Chalo Andolan, which is started by the CJP. Then you also have the Shivaji College Students' Union, who said that we stand with the protesters. Of late, you also had the JNU Students' Union coming out and saying that unequivocally they will support the student movement. Then why is it that you have universities coming out and saying that dare you go to the protest side, that you must stay away from Jantar Mantar? The question is, which side should a university take? Well, there are those who say that universities should back off. There are universities who are backing Pradhan. They've come under fire for their endorsement of the education minister. But why? Let's explain. This is the criticism coming in. There are those who say institutional neutrality has been compromised when universities come out and back the education minister against the student movement which is happening in the nation. Then there are others who say that universities shouldn't take any political stand, that they should be apolitical at best and should be inclusive of all ideological and political stands. The third criticism is that universities cannot give political endorsements, especially to the minister under which these universities fall. That seems as blatant bias, because remember, universities fall under the Delhi universities are going to be falling under the education ministry, and the education minister, of course, is Dharmendra Pradhan. Academia, many say, should stay above politics at all costs. But we are also now going to take you through the no-dharna diktat. This is what Delhi University has said in its advisory. You must understand that this is the advisory that they have given to the students, which has raked up a lot of criticism. What does Delhi University say? This is the advisory it has put out. It says, unlawful protest may invite legal action. That such activities can risk safety as well as careers. Many are saying that this is a veiled threat. Students, they say, must stay away from Jantar Mantar. That you must prioritize safety and compliance with law. That comply with law. Be cautious of fake social media content. Essentially, simply don't go there. Let's also take you through what JNU has said. And interestingly, JNU has been a hub of student protests. JNU has said in its anti-stir advisory, and this is what they say, don't visit gatherings in Jantar Mantar. Keep your distance from them. JNU also says, exercise responsibility on social media. That violation will force disciplinary action. That there are going to be legal consequences if advisories are violated. That all the students must uphold values of responsible citizens. The last part is fine, but many are saying, how can you tell students, keep your distance from Jantar Mantar? Don't go there. Don't support the other students. Well, the university advisories are now drawing sharp criticism. Let's tell you what the critics are saying. The first criticism is that universities cannot discourage democratic protests. In fact, they cannot stifle dissent against the government. That's not their job to stifle any kind of dissent. They should, in fact, encourage critical thinking. And people must be thinking, independent thinking, critical thinking. Universities exist to foster free thought, to question those in authorities. Those are the critical thinking that must be inculcated when students are young. Young minds who must have the ability to question and challenge those in power. That is why the universities today are coming under criticism. But it's not just of students, there are others also. This has become a political hot potato. Lok Sabha's LOP, Rahul Gandhi himself, has now entered into the debate of whether or not universities have the right to give this diktat to its students, that they shouldn't be part of any student protest. Rahul Gandhi has said, how dare you threaten students for exercising their democratic rights? He goes on to post, please note that you are the ones that will be held accountable when the time comes. And to Rahul Gandhi came a sharp rebuttal. This one came from BJP's IT department cell head, Amit Malviya, who called his responses irresponsible. Malviya has said that the opposition should not use students to score political brownie points, adding that the safety of students is at stake. So let's listen in to the political reactions coming in across the spectrum.
सही कहा है कि अपना जो वहाँ छात्र जा रहे हैं अपना शिक्षा ग्रहण करें कि अनशन पर बैठे हैं, जो वहाँ के अपना आदेश किया है वो सही किया है।
डीयू के अंदर कौन बैठ गया है? सारे लोग तो वही बैठे हुए हैं ना। आपने एक विचारधारा के लोग भर दिए, उनको शिक्षा से मतलब नहीं है। वो तो चाहते हैं कि आप अशिक्षित रहें। इतनी महंगी कर दी कि गरीब आदमी के बाहर हो गई। प्रधानमंत्री जी ईमानदार हैं तो सबसे पहले लोन माफ कर दें, शिक्षा को सस्ती कर दें। बच्चों के लिए जो शिक्षा के आपने हाल कर दिया कि उसका व्यवसायीकरण करके उसको इतना महंगा कर दिया कि वो पकड़ से ही बाहर हो गया।
देखिए, जंतर मंतर पे जो भी लोग जा रहे हैं कोई अपनी स्वेच्छा से नहीं जा रहे हैं। आग है जो जल रही है, लोग उनको अपना भविष्य दिख रहा है। हम समझते हैं कि जो डीयू का जो प्रशासन है वो सरकार से गुहार लगाए, सरकार से कहे, सरकार से रिक्वेस्ट करे कि छात्रों नौजवानों की आवाज को सुनते हुए वो एजुकेशन मिनिस्टर का जो है तुरंत इस्तीफा या उनको बर्खास्त करने का काम करें। डीयू प्रशासन को भी छात्रों के साथ खड़े होना चाहिए।
So while Delhi University and JNU have directed their students to refrain from joining what is being described as one of the largest student movements in recent times, it is important to remember that India has witnessed several landmark student-led protests in the past. Take a look at the history of campus protests in nation. You had, of course, the very famous Nav-Nirman Andolan. This was against hostel food, started with fee hike. It snowballed into a statewide anti-corruption protest in 1973 to 1974. This is one of the campus stir which had happened in Gujarat, in the state of Gujarat, and we are getting you some glimpses of it. It was led by the students there across the entire state. The impact was there was a statewide anti-graft protest that they managed to strum up the support for. Then, of course, you had the very famous, or rather infamous, anti-emergency stir between 1974-75, which was crushed with an iron fist by the Indira Gandhi government at the time. But this one was led by J.P. Narayan. The impact was the downfall of Congress. It was 1977 poll defeat happened because of a student protest which was led partly by J.P. Narayan. It was also called the J.P. movement, and it managed to bring down the then Congress government of Indira Gandhi. Then you had the anti-Hindi agitation of 1965 in Tamil Nadu. This was led by the students again of Tamil Nadu. The impact was that English at the time became the official language. This was the anti-Hindi stir. Then you had the anti-Mandal agitation, which had happened of 1990s. Remember, this one too was led by the students of Delhi University primarily, and then it gained momentum across the entire nation. The impact was that is when the decision was taken that there will be no quota for the creamy layer. So the impact of this was massive, that there was creamy layer which was excluded from the quota bracket. Then, of course, you had the JNU pro-Afzal protest, which had happened in 2016. It was led by JNU Students' Union. The impact was that many of these student union leaders, such as Kanhaiya Kumar, Umar Sharjeel, as well as several others, Umar Khalid, all of them were booked for sedition for some of the statements which had happened. And of course, then you had the anti-CAA protests of 2020. This was led by students who were there in JNU, AMU, JMI, several universities, Hyderabad University, all of them were part of the anti-CAA stir. But despite the protests which had happened at that time, they failed to block the Citizenship Amendment Act, which was finally passed in the parliament. But remember, it's not about whether or not these student protests had actually failed or whether they had succeeded. It is more about these are the students who made their voices heard against those in power. In fact, there are many student leaders who later emerged from these campus movements, went on to become some of the biggest, most influential political figures of India as well. The names may surprise you, but let's remind you of the kind of history that they have been part of. The JP movement. These were the stalwarts of the JP movement. Of course, other than Jay Prakash Narayan was the one who was leading it. You had Arun Jaitley, who later went on to become the finance minister under Modi government. Then you had Ravi Shankar Prasad, the former union minister for law. You had Ram Vilas Paswan, who was a former union minister himself. They were all part of the JP movement. Not just that, those who were at times with the opposition as well, such as Nitish Kumar, the former Bihar's chief minister, was also part of the JP movement. Later on, he had also allied with the Congress party, but then back and forth he had gone. Then you had Lalu Prasad Yadav, the former Bihar Chief Minister, of course, his genesis too. All of these were part of the JP movement, the student union movements, which then spread like wildfire against an authoritative regime, as they called it. Then you also had the JNU sedition row, 2016. Remember, that was where Kanhaiya Kumar, who's today a Congress leader, actually originated from. Then, of course, if you remember, go back in history, the Assam students' movement which had happened, the ASU movement which had happened, 1979 to 85. You had the likes of Prafulla Kumar Mohanto, who later went on to become the Assam Chief Minister, is someone who draws his genesis to student protests. Which is why tonight we are going to be asking a simple question. What really are universities for? Should they be the one stifling dissent, or should they be the one standing up for democratic right to dissent? Simple question, but a very layered and complicated answer. Let me go across to our panelists. Today joining us on the show, we have Professor Tanveer Aijaz, a columnist as well as an academician who's joining us, Delhi University professor as well. Dr. Govardhan Das is also joining us, the director of IISER of Bhopal. He is formerly from JNU. But let me go across first to Professor Aijaz. Professor Aijaz, where do you stand in it? Because there are many who are saying, the universities have said, we are only worried about the safety of our students. We don't want them to go there. We've seen that there's been a lot of violence. There are those who allegedly have been injured by pelting and so on and so forth. We just want our students to be safe, sit in the college, don't go on to Jantar Mantar.
Yeah, thank you for having me here. Two things. One is that the advisory basically talking about, that they care for these students, right? And therefore they would not like them to go to protest, right? But on the other hand, there is a threat also in this advisory. So advisory appears more like a threat that if you go and join at Jantar Mantar, the protest, there would be a legal action. So don't go. So it's basically dissuading. It's basically stopping them, the students, not to participate in the political protests, right? So this advisory, perhaps, I think is something which doesn't augur well for the students, doesn't augur well for the faculty, teachers as well. Look at the of course, you made a beautiful presentation about how students, they had participated politically in all the major issues of politics in the Indian history. So let me just tell you this, that if students would not have participated in freedom struggle, we would not have got the freedom struggle, right? If students would not have participated against this Nirbhaya, rape case, perhaps we would not have had, such kind of laws. So therefore, these two cases perhaps you miss. But the point is that, students, let me tell you one thing, that the students are full-fledged citizens. They have the right to vote and they have the right to elect. And those they elect, if they do not perform well, they have the right to criticize. This is what representative democracy is. So they are criticizing and they are exercising their constitutional and legal rights. What kind of an advisory is this, that, if you exercise your constitutional and legal rights, legal action would be taken. It's an oxymoron, actually. It's an oxymoron. So therefore, it is going to be a counterproductive advisory to the students as well, because Gen Z understands one thing, you just cannot curb their freedom. If you curb their freedom, particularly those which they have the right, they have the right to freedom, to assemble peacefully, to protest. These are all constitutional and legal rights. So if you stop them, if you have a surveillance on them, if you threaten them, they'll react more to this kind of advisory.
And I would go a step further to say it's not just about the Gen Z. We have, over the history, had some of the greatest minds, chief ministers, founders of political parties, all of them drawing their roots to student protests. So Dr. Govardhan Das, if a university says students should not be part of protest, is it against what India's history has all along stood by? Because students have been the backbone and the conscious keepers of democracy. Why fear them?
Okay, good evening. I think you have written my designation wrong. I was ISR Bhopal director. I am no more ISR.
Okay, you're the
Bhopal
former
director
director of IISER Bhopal. We'll get that fixed.
Just clear, Anna. Now you tell me, is this a really student protest, or is a political something is going on? If it is not political, how the slogan is coming anti-RSS, anti-BJP? The number one question. Number two question to you.
Because the BJP is in power right now. At the time, when there was, let's say, the JP movement, it was against the Congress. It would be, one would presume, against any party which is in power.
Well, then if I calling that protest in 2007, there was a huge question like against engineering entrance. How many students protested? How many times they broken the sanctity of the parliament? The students are there to get out the parliament, or they approach the parliament, which is breaking the sanctity. Then in 2008, there was the medical entrance test question leak. Did the students ask for resignation of the then education minister Arjun Singh? In 2012, there's a AIMS question paper leaked. That not happened. This is what they are doing is that's a political agenda. If it is a student agenda, that's okay. But how many of the protesters are really students?
Does have a political agenda when he spoke up against paper leak?
What?
When he was a student leader, Dharmendra Pradhan in 1997 had spoken up. He was then an ABVP student leader before he had switched over to the BJP. He led 1,500 students against the then government, saying that they demand accountability. Did he have a political agenda in 1997?
Any question leak somebody has to be accountable. That's true. At the same time, the asking for resignation does this solve the problem? Did the student body?
But they all did.
In 2007, 2008.
Did Arun Jaitley not demand the resignation?
Huh?
Did Arun Jaitley not demand resignation at the time of Indira Gandhi? Did LK Advani not be part of that movement? They were all part of the same movement, including Lalu Prasad, Nitish Yadav, your own alliance partners. They all demanded Indira Gandhi's resignation.
So did Indira Gandhi resign?
She was defeated in elections.
What?
She was defeated in elections, which happened after that.
So if it is that is an issue that is that strong, why does it let the election comes? Let the general people on the country they defeat.
Okay, we are completely out of time. But I appreciated Professor Tanveer Aijaz as well as Dr. Gobardhan Das for joining us here on the show. A simple thing. We are a nation where our conscience keepers have been the youth. Be it the Gen Z, be it the freedom fighters of 1947. We have always had students being fostered in an environment where they are asked to critically think and to challenge those in authorities not to fall for the dogmas. Today, if there are diktats by universities against them, the question still remains. Should dissent be off the syllabus? We leave it with that thought. Thank you so much. We are going to wrap up Decoding Now.